Welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to talk about a phone that I mentioned earlier in the week. I did a comparison video about the Moto One Ace 5G, the OnePlus N10 5G, and also what was the last phone called? The A52 5G. This particular device is the Motorola One 5G Ace. I keep getting this name mixed up. They have really weird names for their phones, Motorola. Anyway, let me just start off by saying this phone actually originally was $400, $399, when the whole craze of 4G, 5G phones were coming out and they were trying to sell you budget phones. But I will say that the price of this phone has dropped. Now, if you go to a place like Best Buy, you will still see this phone for $399. On the other hand, if you go to a Metro by T-Mobile or Metro PCS, I'm sorry, I already said that, Metro PCS or just T-Mobile store in general, the phone is about $250. And online, you can find it normally for about between $199 and $200 new. This is a 5G phone, and we're going to talk about the specs. It's definitely mid-tier, but when I read off the specs for this phone, you'll understand why I'm not a huge big Pixel fan, because there are other phones that either have a better processor than that phone for half the price. So anyway, let's get into it. First and foremost, I will say this phone does support Face Unlock. Fingerprints on the back. That's what I just used to unlock the phone. So you see how fast and responsive that was. But tap, there you go. So it does have a fingerprint scanner. It does have Face Unlock. And of course, you do have that backup lock system, which mine, there's a little circle dots, it's easier to use. And that's the first feature in this phone. So let's go down a few things. One, this is a 6.7 inch screen. So it is a pretty big phone. To be honest, 6.7 to me is like the industry standard, more of like 6.5. But 6.7 is pretty good. Kind of wish this had a stylus, but it did make a 2021 G stylus, and eventually I'll probably do a review on that too. Now, this comes with two variants. One comes in 64 gigabytes, 4 gigs of RAM, while the US version comes at 128 gigabytes of internal memory and 6 gigs of RAM. That's what I have, the 6 gigs of RAM version. Let's talk about the cameras real fast. You have 3 cameras set up, 64 megapixels for the main shooter. I'm sorry, 48 megapixel wide for the main shooter. 8 ultra, I'm out of the camera, 8 ultra wide, and a 2 macro. Snapdragon 750G. I know that I forget which the Pixel uses, the Pixel 4, I think that's a 720G, I believe, with 4 gigs of RAM or something. So this does have a better processor than a Pixel 4a, which was its direct competitor at the time, in my opinion. Because again, you're at a low tier market, and this doesn't use OLED screen. So we'll get to that also. So again, you have the Snapdragon 750, Adreno 619 for anyone that needs to know the chip, so you can have an idea of how the graphics are going to look for certain games. I'm just going to load something up anyway, just to show you how it plays Call of Duty while we're doing this. What I don't like is that this phone loads with Android 10, which doesn't make sense to me. I wish Motorola had a better policy on how they do updates on their phones, like they guarantee 3 years, because this phone would be worth it if they did. But again, these companies are in it to make phones every year and get you to spend money, so that's why a lot of them don't. But eventually that's going to die out, because phones like the A52 give you 3 to 4 years worth of software updates along with Android updates. So they're going to have to get hip to the game eventually. What else we have here? PPI, for those that want to know about the screen, is 393, which isn't bad for a mid-tier phone. The problem with that, like I said, is that the screen, let me set my free gift. The problem with that is that the screen is an IPS LCD. So it's not OLED, it's nothing like Samsung, it's not even a regular OLED screen. So it does look a little washed out at times, compared to when you compare it to a higher end phone or a phone in this category with a better screen. Also, the brightness isn't that great. I know the A52 went up to like 800 nits. I'm sure this is substantially less. But again, if you're the type of person where you want to use your phone during the bright sun, you're not going to get that great of a performance unless you actually turn the brightness completely up on the screen. So as you can see, it does play pretty well. Let me actually just run a game for those that are doubt the phone's processor. Well, I'll talk a little bit more about it. Let's see, 5,000 mAh battery. And that's kind of like Motorola standard when it comes to these types of phones. They are very good on battery life, that much I can say. The only issue I have with that is that this only supports 15-watt charging. 15-watt charging is laughable to me at this point. That's like the industry standard. But oddly enough, the box, I'll open up the box in a moment, but the box only comes with a 10-watt charger inside. But again, when you're pricing a phone as cheap as they are for this one, to me, it makes perfect sense for them to put like a 10-watt in it because they're trying to lower the cost as much as they can, which I can appreciate that. The phone isn't $500 or anything like that because most of these phones that have a Snapdragon 750G are typically $300 and up, $350, $399. That's how they normally are, so I'm okay with that. So as you can see, get out of here. As you can see, the game works perfectly fine. I'm going to leave this game. It's not a ranked match, so it's fine. They don't need me. All right, there we go. So anyway, all right, from here, like I said, it comes with Android 10. I'm not sure if this phone is going to get the updates in the Android department, but hopefully it does. Pretty much said everything else. The water resistant. It doesn't have an IP rating, but it does say that supposedly, what's the word here? It does have a water repellent coat. So if you're caught in the rain, if something happens, you're traveling from point A to point B, it's a downpour, you should be able to use your phone comfortably. Yeah, you should be able to use your phone comfortably and have no issues for the most part. Does have a headphone jack, as you can see, USB-C charger. Again, you could use a turbo charger for this. If you connect a fast charger, it'll say fast charging. If you connect a turbo charger or even a 25-watt Samsung charger, which is what I use, it'll say turbo charging like the Motorola Signature. So that's what I'm even though it supports 15, I'm still using the 25-watt. I haven't had any real degradation to the battery or anything like that. Plus, I don't hold on to phones for super long because I'm constantly buying them and doing reviews and trying them out. So anyhow, let's look at the box right here. So what I noticed in here, make sure I left the charger in here. I did. So as you can see, the Motorola charger normally says rapid charging on it, or turbo charging on the brick itself. This one's actually a 10-watt, which I was really surprised. Explains why there's the 10 on it, but it's really surprising that they decided to do this because last year's model did have 15 watts, the Moto G Stylus last year. So overall, it doesn't come with much, just a charger, the box, the instructions. Like I said, the phone itself, clean finish. Now, the one that you normally see online will be gray. The Metro version and the T-Mobile version are going to be, I believe it's this black color, which, to be honest, I did not like the gray color at all. It's really ugly. It's extremely ugly in my opinion. It makes the phone look very, very cheap. While this is like a bluish, purplish type color, I don't know what you call it, but it's not quite black because if you look at the reflection, you could definitely see the colors, and that's not just the ceiling light. But it's a good phone. I will say it's a good phone. Like I said, it has the best battery life out of the three that I mentioned before. But if you don't have an issue with the slow charging, get the phone. It's going to be a good battery life. It should last you the entire day, especially with mild to intermediate usage. And that's pretty much it. So, like, subscribe. If you have any questions about the phone, ask away. Like I said, it's a good phone. This is my daily driver for the moment. I had this phone before, of course, but I typically use phones. So, I can give an accurate description about how I feel about it, who the phone is for. Actually, I'm glad I said that. Now, if you're a high-end user, you're used to the OnePlus 8T, you're used to the Galaxy S20, S21, things like that, this phone is not going to be for you. You're going to notice all the flaws of this phone immediately. But if you're coming from a Moto G Stylus or you're coming from a lower-end phone in the Metro family, I do believe that phones like these that have 6 gigs of RAM with the Snapdragon 750 or 765, one of the two, they're ideal devices where they can do almost everything everyone else can do on a regular basis. Now, when you go into video editing and things like that, that is a different story. Like my OnePlus, obviously, that has 12 gigs of RAM is going to process videos and post and upload faster than a phone like this. It takes longer. The connection isn't as strong as my OnePlus phone, which I don't expect it to be, because again, this is a $300 phone when it's all said and done, when you really look at things for what it is. If you go into GSM Arena, which I get a lot of my facts from too, also just about specs, it's probably one of the first things that pop up when you type in the specs of a phone. it'll show that you can get this phone for $199. Now, I personally haven't seen it for $199, but I have seen it for $249. So anyway, like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.